Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Roma Press live stream the day after Roma lose to Inter 1-0. We are here gathered to try and talk about it in a balanced way. The latest episode of the Roma Press podcast dropped earlier today. If you're a patron, you get earlier access to the episode. You can get also additional episodes and also some goodies and the inclusion to the crazy but irreplicable um, Roma Press patron group chat. So if you want to support the show, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Roma Press. I want to thank our patrons for hanging in there despite a match of of the kind that we saw yesterday, a disappointing result. And I my in-depth analysis is in the episode that dropped today. And I also wanted to after I welcome all of you. Hello, Philip. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Richard, for joining me this afternoon, all the way from New Mexico. That's awesome. Thank you, Anthony, our good patron. Let's talk Roma football. We got Alec, our good patron. Don't know why, but this angle in lightning is creepier than usual. Wow, thank you, Alec. Always a kind word when I need it the most. um, I don't know the angle. The angle. It's just because I have a light here. I have a security camera. This is a security camera, supposedly a security camera, but we are in Spain, so nobody checks these things. So as we wait for more people to enter this live stream, I would like to ask you guys to please click like so that we can get the algorithm going. We're also just 11 subscribers away from reaching 1,000 subscribers, and that would be pretty cool. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel and you like what we do at Roma Press, and you want to stay up to date with our podcast episodes and the live streams that I record, please click the button subscribe. And if you want to get notified whenever I schedule these live streams, you can click on the bell and you'll get a notification. I usually schedule these 1 or 2 hours earlier. So we can talk about Roma. We can talk about Inter. I want to get your takes on last night's match. I want to get your thoughts on our performance, our approach, on Inter's performance, on their approach. What the next steps are, how you feel about the result, anything that you want to get off your chest, you're free to do so in a civilized manner here in the comments, and I will try and read them and interact with them. So we got this Richard. We got Richard. By the way, you hit the nail on the head when you said it was a cheesy romantic comedy on the Hallmark station known as AS Roma. Yes, it was. It was a predictable match. That's what I meant exactly. We got Anthony saying, "Share this on your social media platform, guys." Yes, if you like the this live stream, I would like to ask you if you could also share it amongst your followers or your friends on Facebook or Twitter. Just even a simple retweet of our tweet on the AS Roma Press page would help. Spread the word. We got Mads referencing the wonderful rumors about Pellegrini potentially stalking a hooker, which I'm not even going to try and entertain. Thoughts on Pellegrini being caught stalking a nurse from Villa Stewart. Yes, there you go. That's your typical Mads at in the evening on a Monday evening. Mads likes to twist the words of the renowned tabloid journalist Fabrizio Corona. To be frank, I think every of our wingbacks would be cooked because of Dumfries. But if game plan was to pray and defend, Mourinho threw Zaleski to death. I felt actually sorry for him. At least he woke up in the second half. Um, we can argue about some of the selection that were some of the selections that were made last night. We had Zaleski start in the place of Leonardo Spinazzola. Spinazzola was hurt. We got Erasmus Christensen making, I think, a rare and questionable appearance from the start instead of Rick Karsdorp. And in the end, as I pointed out in the podcast, this performance was bizarre because you couldn't really pick out, you know, the individual players doing something wrong, with perhaps the exception of Christensen not being aggressive enough on Di Marco on that goal, and Llorente seeing Marcus Thuram just cruise by him. And Llorente, up until that point, had been really good. It's weird because given their approach and given their tactics for the night, they actually did did the best they could, and that's why I also think I was very yeah. Alex saying Karsdorp needed to start yesterday in order for us to have a shot. Any ideas as to why he didn't? He's clearly our best wing back when healthy. I think that is a, a, a question that I would like a reporter at Trigoria to ask of Mourinho, because it's very strange how Mourinho handles this rivalry for the position of the right wing back between Christensen and Karsdorp, and occasionally Salik. But Salik is also a left wing back in Mourinho's eyes. It seems to me that Mourinho considers Christensen a better defender, but to me that is questionable. I mean, I think Karsdorp obviously has more of an offensive tendency, attacking prowess, and can cross the ball pretty well if he wants to, and he's sharp on that night. But in Mourinho's eyes, it almost seems like Christensen is this, due to his physicality perhaps or whatnot, a better, more apt defender in these tight games where you don't have much possession, so you may as well just focus on defending. But ultimately, when you look at that goal, Christensen does everything that a defender should not let somebody as talented as Di Marco do on that occasion, which is he just doesn't. He just lets him do whatever he wants. He's very slow on the turn and not aggressive enough. Gives him plenty of daylight to get his shot off. Yeah. Do you think Mourinho put Christensen in for physicality, big body? I don't know. I mean, that to me is the only logical explanation for a choice that, Karsdorp has been very good in recent weeks, and we've all agreed that he seems to be the one, the one wing back actually doing his job pretty well, pretty convincingly. So that was, it was a bizarre decision, and I think ultimately it comes down to the approach of the team, the overall approach. I guess if the match called for Roma actually relying heavily on counterattacks, which they didn't. Let's face it, Roma had two shots. I think one shot on goal. It was the Cristante thing, right? With Sommer doing a great save. But that was the approach. The approach was not, try and get back at Inter. It was try and absorb as much as possible, and for that, Mourinho probably likes Christensen because of how big of a guy he is. But it's pointless if Di Marco, who's a a typical small Italian man, gets by you really quickly and has all the time in the world to get a proper cross to Marcus Thuram. Sorry, guys, my throat has been itching lately. It's um, yeah. Top six will be tough this time. I expect us to play this way against most top table teams. Oh, let's not say that. I think that approach from last night was heavily dictated by the fact that you lacked a connection between midfield and attack, and in fact, Romelu Lukaku had basically zero decent balls delivered to him. So last night was, I think, the exception to the rule. Against Lazio, okay, let's see what Amanda says. Against Lazio, even against Lazio, unless something dramatic happens, we're looking at another 20% possession game. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Dybala is going to be back. Leonardo Spinazzola is supposed to be back. Hopefully, Pellegrini will also be back, because that's when Mourinho was hoping to have him available. And also, Lazio are not the type of team that they were last season. This is a Lazio team that, without Milinkovic Savic, lost a lot in terms of possession, in terms of control. Hi, Joey. Thank you for joining me. It was very kind of you to make that comment, and on Twitter for liking today's episode. I appreciate that, because it was very strange. We got a very mixed and also animated response to today's episode, which John and I agreed that it was perhaps one of the most level-headed episodes that we've recorded in recent memory. We really try to assess the situation from a balanced perspective, and yet we somehow still find ourselves in the crosshairs of those that want us to only criticize Mourinho, and those that think we are only criticizing Mourinho when we're just trying to be in the middle, and analyze this with a bit of, with a bit of hindsight, and a bit of levity. Don't take yourself so seriously. This is just football. He certainly didn't get in front of the passing angle. He had the Holland tunnel to pass that ball through, says Anthony. Yes, Di Marco, that definitely was, it's like the number one thing you should not do. Like, I'm pretty sure that Mourinho will go back to Trigoria and show the video to everybody, and it's not to be critical of Christensen, because I think two center backs on that occasion are also at fault, because nobody is after Marcus Thuram. He's wide open. He has all the time in the world to score, a very simple, easy goal. It's the one goal that you should have avoided conceding to Inter, because that's what they know how to do. So Inter, they came in to this game with a completely different approach. They came into this game with the approach of a team that knows they're better and that they have to win. That's why in the second half they looked a bit nervous, right? They weren't able to break us down. It almost felt like what Roma were doing with Monza, with the 10-man Monza, right? And that's the sentiment that John and I addressed in our episode, is that the circumstances are unfortunate, and so Roma cannot control the circumstances. And by circumstances, I mean the calendar, I mean the injuries. All that stuff goes into the background. It's something you cannot control, but that feeling of, when you go into a situation like this, into the San Siro, you walk onto that pitch and you almost feel exactly like a Monza or a Slavia Praha at the Stadio Olimpico. That's a bit unfair, it's a bit unpleasant. It doesn't depend on Mourinho, it doesn't depend on the players. It's an amalgamation of everything that has been going on for these past few years with Roma, with their situation, and with their opponents. Their opponents have been, rising to the top of the table, and Roma have been slowly drifting apart. Peter, thank you for shouting out small Italian men. Well, yes, I mean, Di Marco, Barella, those are. And Barella is also funny because he's got like 4 kids. He's like 22 or something. He's got 4 kids. He's better in the sack than John. No, I take that back. That didn't sound good. That didn't cut it out. Cut it out. Forget it. Forget I said that. Oleg, Oleg with his typical Polish optimism. This was a piss poor performance. Zaleski should be loaned out or sold. Okay. I like when, when something goes wrong, we immediately resort to the transfer window. It's just like, get it out. But we're barely in November, guys. There's still a long way to go, and with Zaleski, you can't take chances. You got Spinazzola, who's injured 1 week yes, 1 week no, and sometimes he gets linked to a move away in January. Sometimes he's just not feeling it. Sometimes when he's on the pitch, he looks like he's drunk. So This team cannot afford to lose anyone at this moment in time. It was well said, Joey. Says everything you and John have said really expresses what I feel and think about a game like this. Yeah, it's just, it sucks. Like, I know that our good patron Alec, so another optimist, a la Oleg. So Alec, you can get together and be miserable with each other. Um, it sucks. It sucks when you go into a game like this of this magnitude. And also, there was this whole buildup, right? There was this whole buildup, the anticipation, the whistles, the boos, everything, against Romelu Lukaku, and it felt like it needed, an emphatic performance when Roma as the underdogs, go out guns blazing. And I said it. Somebody said to me after the episode dropped, well, in the previous live stream, you said you would consider any result a good result, and you didn't expect a win. And that's true. I didn't expect us to go out there and play with a high line and play like Barcelona between 2008 and 2010. But at the same time, I'm just from a fan perspective, from somebody who tunes into a game, I'm disappointed when it's it's pretty clear. Actually, it's 100% clear that the team, as confirmed by Cristante, Llorente, Mourinho himself, the team did not even entertain the thought of potentially getting it done near the final minutes. I mean, Cristante said something to the effect of, "We planned it out in order for us to hold it out until the final minutes of the game and then try to score." Whatever you say, boss. Whatever you say. Why is Rasmus not called a traitor? Why Karsdorp is still in trouble? I think I don't know if you can. I don't know if I can question Christensen's effort on that try. I can. I can. I think it's pretty evident that he just doesn't have the facilities, big man, uh, to he's just not good enough in that situation. I think it's a difference between not being good enough and not putting effort into something. Hi, Andy. Sidan, thank you so much for being here. What's the celebrations plan for 1,000 YouTube subscribers? Any update on Smalling? I don't think there are any celebrations when we hit 1,000 subscribers, other than maybe getting 50 cents a month from a random YouTube ad. Uh, um, any update on Smalling? There is no update for Smalling. This is a very bizarre situation. The only updates we have so far is it's up on the website. Paulo Dybala and Leonardo Spinazzola will be available for the match against Lecce. So Smalling is nowhere to be found at the moment. Lazio don't have Ibanez anymore. So, yeah, I saw a lot of people who who were very happy to send me videos of Ibanez scoring an own goal in his recent appearance in Saudi Arabia. Joey says on La Magica podcast with Scott. I mention this all the time, so I'm glad someone else expressed it on the pod. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, it's a feeling that we all have, right? And I think a lot of people take issue with this situation that Roma are in, where clearly when we talk about the top teams in Serie A, we cannot talk about Roma in the same conversation as Inter, Milan, Napoli. We can only talk about them in the conversation with Lazio, Atalanta, Fiorentina, and that's disappointing. That's what really kills the fun that we used to have going into these big games. That is not to say that when we went into these big games, we always delivered. I think people also get too caught up to remember that some of the times where, say, we remember when we dominated with Spalletti, both Milan, Inter in that same year, it was because those were crap teams in crappy moments. Roma were miles ahead, but exactly that is what is depressing, because we go from that to this. But again, I think it's also a question of keeping in mind the circumstances that are unfortunate. Inter qualify for Champions League, they get 2 additional days of rest. It happens. It happens. It's up to them. It's up to you. And you get injured. they don't, or if they do, they got more options. It's because they've been qualifying for the Champions League for the past few years. They got a little bit of more money. That's what happens. That's life. That's life. That's the Frank Sinatra song. Once again, the substitutions came too late. Yeah, that is something. I think that stems from the fact that the team was so locked into that defensive mindset that any change could have compromised the solidity. But once you concede that goal, and it just felt like it was coming. It just felt like it was coming because Inter were doing exactly what Roma did with Monza. They knew they were the team that was in a position to score. They knew, deep down, they knew that Roma was not going to be a threat to them in those final minutes. So it was only up to them to change the outcome of the match. It wasn't up to Roma, it was up to them. And in the end, the quality overcomes, a minor mistake, a minor individual mistake that costs you and allows them to win it. We got, by the way, Boniek said yesterday that Zaleski's lawyers are preparing a lawsuit for 10 million euro. Boy is about to be rich. Yeah, I mean, Corona is getting sued by Casale, Zaleski, El Shaarawy, now Pellegrini. So Corona should be very happy to be still breathing fresh air because at this rate, he's going to go back into the cell. I got to be honest, I really dislike Christensen. He should never start again. I think he's very wooden. And I don't think that this particular context, a big match, big, difficult game, suits him. I think Rick Karsdorp, a player who has experience in Serie A, has had experience in these types of games for a number of years, and has been delivering actually convincing and consistent performances across the board this season. For me, it seemed like a no-brainer, but evidently Mourinho thinks otherwise with regards to their qualities. So at least we lost only 1-0. I was ready for 0-5, and that's what I think when people say, "Oh, we should have attacked more in the first half." The moment you start attacking in the first half, Inter score 3-4 goals easy. This is a team that destroyed Milan. They were gonna do the same to you if you drastically change the approach. I'm not saying if you slightly altered the approach or if you made use of more counterattacks, because I think that was possible. You still had the players to work your way up on a counterattack. But definitely, there is a way of losing and a way of just getting embarrassed. Oleg, well, Zaleski doesn't deliver on a regular basis. The guy is a wing back with 1 assist to his name in 2 years. No, I think that's, still one. Still 1 assist. I'm tired of some of these names because they influence the general mental profile of the team. Yeah, well, but Oleg, what can you do? You can't go out of your way and constantly replace players all the time. I agree that there are some positions that need to be urgently changed, but then I don't want to again get into transfers because something as simple and as unexpected as Nemanja Matic just packing his bags and leaving can completely derail your pre-planned strategy. So Roma were already looking to get rid of Leonardo Spinazzola this past summer. The right offer never came, and you didn't get rid of him. So you didn't get a replacement that may have been convincing in this context. Yes, sir. Roma can and should play better football than this. Don't believe the Mourinho gaslighting that we are a mediocre team. I don't think he's saying that they are a mediocre team. He was actually very encouraged by the effort that they put in. I think he's just very aware of the fact that this is a team that hasn't been 100% this season, has never actually had the chance to play 100%. A team that has never had its best players on the pitch at the same time. And that's just disappointing because he sees that there is potential. So Let's not get it twisted. This is not Mourinho from 2021 where he's just consistently throwing players under the bus because evidently most of them are not good enough in his eyes. Right now, this is a team that he recognizes has the potential to do better things, but the situation hasn't allowed us to actually get to enjoy, Renato Sanchez, Paolo Dybala, Lorenzo Pellegrini, Lukaku on the same pitch. It's important to clear our heads to prevail for Roma, but Roma do not look like a team that is willing to do anything to achieve their goals. Is this observation incorrect? I'm not sure I understand, Anthony. So if you could clarify in your comments. I think a lot of what Roma say and do, obviously, it never goes hand in hand. It never does. It's one thing to say we're aiming for the Scudetto because how many times have we heard it in the past, and then it's another thing to actually do it. When we say Roma are aiming for top four, I think that's the consensus in the dressing room. If you're asking me if the team actually believes it, I think on a night like yesterday, no, they don't. I think in a night like yesterday, they were fully aware that they were the inferior side, and that's what bothers me. But that's not something that we can change because it's the way it is. They were the inferior side, and they lacked the players to put it in the Inter in danger. And Inter never felt threatened, and that is the disappointing aspect of it. I miss. I'm God damn it. I miss the Spalletti and Sabatini days when we did the double on both Inter and Milan. Yeah, well, good days when they had Gary Medel in the midfield. the, those teams were unwatchable. Inter had Kongdobia in the middle of the pitch then. Agreed that that's the one thing Mourinho got wrong with the lineup is the fullbacks. Selic and Karsdorp have performed miles better than Christensen and Zaleski. Yeah, Selic definitely needs more playing time because, again, he can play on the left. He can be effective there, and you're getting nothing out of Zaleski. And Spinazzola is a big question mark most of the time. With Christensen, I think there is a context that suits him better. Obviously, last night was not the case. Karsdorp is more experienced in Serie A. He's been better over these last few weeks. So that is a question that I would like the media to ask Mourinho on the next presser. Michael says, "Yes, sir. If we had been playing attacking football, we would have lost by more than 1-0. Yeah, it felt like that. It felt like you were really trying your hardest to contain Inter, and at the end of the day, you let that one chance slip by, and they capitalized on it. That happens. So that's not, that's where I come from. And people think that I'm criticizing this or that. No, I come from the fact that, from the idea that it happens. A loss like last night can happen given the circumstances. It's frustrating that you drove yourself into a situation where a loss like last night is amplified by your poor start to the season, by the fact that you are way down in the league table. You've messed up on several occasions against smaller sides, and then you drive yourself into a position where against the top team you're not even looking to compete, and in the situation you're in, it reflects badly on you. But we can all agree that a 1-0 loss to Inter at San Siro without some of your best players, it makes sense. Like, yes, we've seen it. We've been there. I'm sad about the Cristante chance. The cross was perfect. Brian was in perfect position, but Sommer is too good and they deserve to win. Yeah, that was your one clear chance. They could have turned it around. They could have surprised everybody there. Alex, you guys always think what Roma should have done. The other teams also studies us and knows our weaknesses. Remember against Milan, we tried to press, then they played along to Rafael Leao. No, absolutely. Obviously, a match you play, two teams are playing the match. So again, that's what I'm saying. It's not. I'm saying they should. Oh, they should have gone out of their way and attacked like hell and risked getting absolutely demolished in the first half. I totally understand where they were coming from given the circumstances. I totally understand why the mindset was let's try and not concede at all costs. But can I say, am I allowed to express my frustration with with the awareness of that idea, of the fact that yes, we're headed into this game trying not to lose? That's it. That's all I'm saying. I think that is a feeling that is echoed in these comments. So I don't think I'm seeing a lot of people claiming that they know better with regards to how Roma should have played. In order for Roma to achieve its goals, they need to take risks. And to not even fight hard to try and score is very deflating. Again, I think it all comes down to some of the circumstances. If you listen to what the players had to say after the game, they paid special attention to that physical aspect, to the fact that they were tired. Like both Cristante and for Cristante to mention that they were tired, it takes a lot. Then Llorente says the same thing. Um, I don't think in those instances it's excuses when it's coming from the players that are directly involved in that. It's just how it is. They were tired and they couldn't keep up with a better team that had more energy. Michael says Roma played the way based on the circumstances. Inter is no joke. We were missing Dybala, Smalling, Pellegrini, Sanchez. Some people expect us to go all out. Let's get real. And you got to, and the positive about this is that you got a chance to make amends right away. You're playing against Lecce. You're playing then the Derby della Capitale in a couple of weeks. So the chance to make up for this, it's there. And we can be here in a few days' time, and the Inter loss will not be bothering us anymore. It's unfortunate that you have to halt the momentum from 5 straight wins, and you have to digest a performance like last night's, which was not too satisfying. Yeah, let's put it that way, because you have to be really careful with some words here. Imagine taking away 5 starters from any team. Even a team with a bench like Inter would feel it, Frank. Absolutely. I'm not saying otherwise. There is this twisted thinking. I don't know. It comes from 2 factions. The one that criticized Mourinho at all costs, the one that defend him at all costs. And so John and I are cutting right in the middle. And one faction thinks that we benefit from saying one thing. The other faction says that we benefit from saying the other thing. We don't benefit from anything. I mean, this is 2 guys doing it remotely, one of whom lives in Ohio, one of whom travels Europe and tries to stay in low budget accommodation to work remotely. We don't live in in fancy hotels off of what we say on this podcast. This podcast is great because we interact with real people and we have the chance to have a conversation, and we saw this podcast grow because of the people that wanted to listen. So we are not benefiting, we're not getting the money off of saying one bad thing about Mourinho or one bad thing about the team overall. That is very twisted, but I guess some people always need to feel better about themselves. We played with what we had, says Alex. Absolutely. Just 2 days to prepare the rest of the game. Like this is not possible. Buying cheap players is what is hurting us. I better lose 1-0, says Michael, playing like we did than playing attacking football, losing 4-0. Oh, yeah. Remember some of the times where we played with Fonseca and we would go all out, or even Zeman, we would go all out and risk it all and get absolutely humiliated. I think with Fonseca, we repeatedly lost that way with Atalanta because we tried to emulate what Atalanta were doing, and along the way we would get absolutely annihilated every time. Remember the good old times of Duvan Zapata harassing Costas Manolas at every turn? Glory days. In games where we just defend, I trust Salik even more than Spinazzola at this moment. I do agree. Spinazzola and Zalewski haven't shown anything where they can be trusted. Like, there is not a single match where I feel comfortable with either one of them. We were going in with a decimated squad against basically the best team in Italy. We couldn't have done anything better, to be honest. I agree. And I see that we agree. This is a common thought that most of us here share. But it's unfortunate, isn't it? That is all I'm trying to say. It is unfortunate. The thought of it, the helplessness, the feeling of being helpless, Roma as a team being helpless in this situation, going into the San Siro, a match which usually called for high emotions and both teams a lot at stake. It felt like out of the two teams, only Inter had something at stake, which was reclaiming the first place in the league. It felt like Roma didn't have much at stake. That's it, and it's probably the case. They probably didn't feel like this was the make it or break it moment for Champions League football. The make or break is a match against Lecce. It's a match against Salernitana. Those are the make or break moments. It's a match against Monza. That's why you celebrate the way we did, because those are the games where you feel you have to win, just like Inter felt they had to win against Roma last night. Guys, I would really like us to click the like button. We're not many, but I appreciate every one of you engaging after last night's defeat. That doesn't go, I don't take it as guaranteed, but please, if you can, just click the like button so that we can get more people in. Nomads, we were going in. Oh, sorry, I read that already. Let's see. Nasser, finally, was it the best idea by starting with above that's a spelling mistake, with Bove instead of with Awar for better creativity? Was it a better idea to start Bove ahead of Awar? I thought Awar could have played a bit more. I think this is a guy that definitely needs minutes, but also, again, I understand. See, I empathize. I try to see it from Mourinho's perspective. I can also tell why a player like Awar wasn't more involved in this type of game, where you just basically lock everything down. Because I think he would need to be more acclimated in order to slot into a situation like this. Last night, I don't think that's why you bring him on the final minutes, because that's when you try to unleash some creativity, but some attacking, movements, but too little, too late, and that's okay. That's okay. Matt, early Mancini yellow, then second half Ndika Paredes really hurt our ability to defend aggressively basically the whole game. And that Mourinho took issue with that because he felt like the team had been crippled by the referee in what they were trying to do. It made life much harder. And yes, Paredes will therefore miss the match against Lecce due to suspension because he's accumulated too many yellow cards. Richard, totally agree, Andy. It's a mindset. We have a mindset. We are looking at a draw as a win. Yeah, it's a general thing. It's not about the team. It's about us. It's about everybody who's interested in Roma. They are aware of their, of their ceiling, and their ceiling right now doesn't allow them to go head to head with Inter in Inter's home. Alex, a player we tried to sign 2 seasons continues. A player we tried to sign for 2 seasons couldn't even make the starting 11 for Inter. Same player would have started every week for us. Over 400 million Spurs have spent in 2 seasons on top of EPL. Are we really discussing and comparing Premier League money with first of all with Serie A money, and then second of all with Roma money? Well, let's not start that conversation because it's impossible to have it. It's Serie A is bleeding money. Serie A is bleeding money. Realistically, Serie A are in trouble just as a whole. So, Philip, best thing was was Marcus Thuram's classy mobster fashion. Oh, Lilian Thuram's classy mobster fashion. Michael, don't lower yourself, buddy. Your apartment looks amazing. Thank you, Michael. It's not my apartment. I mean, this is it's an Airbnb. It suits me just fine. But thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Joey, late to the party. What's up? Well, Joey, everybody's losing their minds, but that's okay. We're here to help. Joey Palmieri this time. Still don't understand how the game wasn't played today, especially since Atalanta and Fiorentina played yesterday. It's a mess, and the Serie A administrator Luigi De Siervo basically said, "Well, what Mourinho is saying is basically an alibi. He's making excuses because a match of this caliber has to be played." At the peak moment of viewership, and the peak moment of viewership is Sunday night. Again, Serie A, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna be optimistic and say that players were shit. That players we shit on today will destroy Lecce on Sunday. Well, yes. Again, it goes back and forth, right, guys? We go from one extreme to the other. It felt like the team that was winning 5 games in a row was fantastic. That finally they had unlocked themselves. That they got it, And I saw actually people being very optimistic ahead of the Inter game, especially with that whole narrative about Lukaku, the whistles, the boos, everything. The 75,000 Inter fans ready to go at him, and I saw some people saying, "Well, watch out because he could score." I read the script; it's looking good. What is Mourinho cooking? But then there is the reality, and reality in the Roma world always, well, not always, but most of the time hurts. Yeah, that's what happens when you have a referee like Maresca. Maresca, I told you guys, a trigger happy referee. Trigger happy. That's the only way I can put it. Do I even need to ask who everyone is rooting for in Lazio Fiorentina match? Yeah, Anthony, I don't think I don't think you're gonna find a lot of Bianco Celesti fans. Alex says, Andy, I think Bove wasn't at his best because Mancini slapped him too much on Thursday. Yeah, that definitely had an impact on how Bove played. No, but Bove was one of the few standouts. And again, I just want to point out how odd this match was, because overall, I'm really hard pressed to find a player that I can go at him and say, "Oh, he was shit," with the exception of Christensen, who missed that turn by Di Marco, and Lukaku, who had basically no service whatsoever and didn't feel really part of the team. Like, overall, I could see where this was going, and I can applaud the effort. That's what I'm saying. I can applaud the effort. It doesn't make me happy to have to applaud the defense, the only defensive effort of a team that had specifically set out to get a draw. But here it is. That's we've driven ourselves to this situation throughout the last few years, and we have to sit in it and stew in it. This team I can deal with. It's the supporters I struggle with, says Amos. Maybe it's a lack of critical thinking in today's world, or maybe the inability to see things from another point of view. I think, Amos, this is like, sports is very polarizing. But again, I think right now we live in a polarized world. It's either you're here or you're here. It's either you're good, you're bad, either you suck, you did this, you do that. It's never you, and especially when you are so involved in sports. Sports, they're so passionate. People are so passionate. They love it. It becomes very difficult to have actually a bit of distance to it. And I actually think that doing this podcast has helped me a lot to deal with there were times where I would not eat after a disappointing performance from Roma. Like, I would just shut down and be like, oh man, no, I'm done for the day. The podcast, it forced me to come up with ways to analyze some things, and it helped me, be more balanced, more critical, more open about certain scenarios, and everybody has a certain view, but it's always, I think, important, especially with this team, with what they're doing now. This team is hot or cold. It doesn't go all the way up here or all the way down here. They don't suck all the way. They're not competing to relegate. They're not competing for the Scudetto. They're not in relegation. They're somewhere in the middle. Along the way, they've won a Conference League. So it's very bizarre to be a Roma fan, but that's why it really requires you to be a bit more open. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. And I think that's some good life advice from yours truly. Be more open. Um, Michael, imagine if we could have a fully healthy team versus Inter. Everyone played well based on the circumstances. I think we're talking about a whole different story right there. And I think the expectations are different and the feeling after the match is different. So, absolutely. Mancini, Llorente were really good until the lost goal. That we can agree with. That duo was very good. I thought they were, Llorente especially, was a highlight. That's why it's deflating to see them be so slow on Marcus Thuram. Like they just lose him. This does not ruin the morale of the team. This was the second best case scenario. Yeah, I don't listen. I think the real catastrophe was the match against Genoa, and I think they've learned their lesson from that. So last night was an inevitable minor accident along the way, but it felt inevitable to some way. So I think that's why it is more acceptable from our perspective and from theirs too. So I agree. I do not expect the team to just crumble after last night. Everything is so extreme, says Amos. It just makes me want to stay away. I agree, and you do what makes you feel good. If you wanna, again, if you are a patron and you wanna have some time off from the patron group chat because it can get a bit intense, it's fine. You just let John and I know, and you're still good to go whenever you want to come back in. You're in it, man. So just everybody should enjoy football. It should enjoy their team play. So if you don't, then you gotta find other ways. You gotta find a nice movie. What nice movie? You can watch Singing in the Rain. That always cheers me up. Or Some Like It Hot. Anthony, Llorente played his best match for Roma last night. It could be argued. I think there were a couple of performances last season which were on par with what we were seeing for the first 80 minutes. It's true, Roma fans just complain and then long for a time of beating Inter but not winning anything. But no, the thing about it is, Frank, we always like to call back on the good old times. When were the good old times? When we won the Scudetto 22 years ago? Like, what are we talking about exactly? Because people have different misconceptions of good old time. Some think with Fonseca it was a good old time. Some think with Spalletti it was a good old time. Everybody thinks differently. So, thank you, Amos. The level-headedness is why I love you and John. Yeah, we we try a lot too. And John is more admirable because John has to watch Roma play in the same room as 4 small children, and then there is a 5th one on the way. So I'm just saying that guy's effort is next level. I only got myself to worry about. Andy, any news regarding Smalling? No, Smalling is not part of group training. He trained for 2 days with the team, and then he felt pain again in his muscles. I don't know what it is. It's chronic tendonitis, something that comes and goes, and he's just not feeling it. Kind of like Renato Sanchez. Andy, big fan from Kenya. Thank you, Zoan. I have followed Mourinho everywhere, and I have to say Rome has been an exceptional place. Sadly, little success in his 3-year stint at the club. I wish we won more. Zoan, don't worry. We wish we'd won more in our history. So it's fine. 3 years, you're good to go, man. Some of us have been here since the 70s, and this is actually the best time for them. Won a Conference League, went to back-to-back European competition final. Again, people have different concepts of success, so it's fine. From a Roma perspective, the last 3 years have been thrilling. At least in my perspective, they have been thrilling. But that's just me. This is a team that is not known for winning, guys. Let's not kid ourselves. I wonder how many injuries we will have for that December-January run. Yeah, that's going to be brutal. Napoli, Atalanta, what is it, Milan, I think, no, or Juve. Anyway, I agree, December, January, it's gonna be a hell. But other teams are doing exactly the same. Like Milan are a mess physically. They're just they've. That's why it felt so weird to see them be so superior to Roma in that match from over a month ago, because they're crumbling physically. They're crumbling, and that applies to a number of teams, Juve as well. They're losing players left and right. So it happens to us. It happens to others. It's a mess, but you have to go on. So, guys, I think we are going to end it here on that note, that you have to go on. No matter what happens against a team like Inter, you have to go on. You have to look forward to the next few games. We got Paulo Dybala coming back. We got Leonardo Spinazzola coming back. Then hopefully we will have Lorenzo Pellegrini coming back for the derby. We will be right here at Roma Press. We're going to do a live stream in the next few days. We will see. The podcast, the latest episode, is out now. You can listen to it on all the platforms that you get your podcast from. You can also watch us right here on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so here. And if you would like to support our show, you can do so by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Roma Press, and you can get many additional benefits from following our channel and our website. So thank you guys so much for interacting with me today. I know it's not easy to come on here after a loss, but I hope that we can have always a constructive conversation. And if you ever want to have a more personal, you can always hit me up on Twitter. I'm always there. So I want to thank each and every one of you, wherever you are in the world. I really appreciate it. I know some people took time out of their busy schedule. Some others are just waking up, or others are going to sleep. So it doesn't matter where you are. Have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Thank you so much. See you soon right here on Roma Press YouTube channel. Thank you.